The discovery the drill bit screamed through ancient ice, sending vibrations up through 3 kilometers of frozen history. Dr. Maya Chun pressed her palm against the observation window of the drilling platform, feeling the mechanical rhythm pulse through the reinforced glass. At 34, she had spent the last decade perfecting quantum resonance engineering, but nothing had prepared her for the frequencies she was detecting here in the heart of Antarctica. "Chun, you're looking pale again," called Dr. Robert Voss from across the cramped control room. The project leader was a mountain of a man whose beard had turned white during their 6 months at the research station. "Those headaches getting worse?" Maya rubbed her temples, trying to ease the pressure that had been building for days. Ever since they had reached the 2.8-kilometer depth, something had been different. The ice sang to her in ways that her instruments couldn't detect, frequencies that made her teeth ache and her vision blur at the edges. "It's nothing," she lied, adjusting the quantum resonance scanner she had custom-built for this expedition. The device hummed softly, its crystalline components designed to detect electromagnetic anomalies in deep ice formations. But lately, it had been picking up readings that defied explanation. The drilling platform shuddered as the bit encountered resistance. Marcus Webb, their geologist, frowned at his readings. "That's odd. The density just spiked dramatically. It's not rock or metal ... It's something else entirely." Maya's scanner erupted with activity. Patterns danced across her holographic display, complex waveforms that seemed almost musical in their structure. She had never seen anything like it. The frequencies were layered, harmonious, as if they had been deliberately composed, rather than naturally occurring. "Pull up the sonic imaging," she requested, her voice tight with excitement and growing dread. The headache was intensifying, but so was her certainty that they had found something extraordinary. The sonic display revealed a structure of impossible geometry. Crystalline formations stretched in perfect symmetry, creating chambers and corridors that extended far beyond the reach of their instruments. It was clearly artificial, clearly designed, and clearly not human. "My God," whispered Sarah Kim, their youngest team member and expert in xenogeology. "It's a city, a crystal city preserved in the ice." Maya stood up too quickly, and the room tilted around her. The frequencies were getting stronger, more insistent. They seemed to be responding to her presence, growing in intensity as if awakening from a long sleep. She could feel them calling to her, resonating with something deep in her genetic code that she had never understood. "We need to stop drilling," she said suddenly, surprising herself with the urgency in her voice. "What?" Voss looked at her incredulously. "We've been working toward this discovery for months. We can't stop now. Something's wrong." Maya gripped the edge of the console as another wave of resonance washed over her. "The structure is reacting to us, to me. The frequencies are changing, becoming more active." Marcus checked his instruments. "She's right. The electromagnetic signature is intensifying. Whatever that thing is, it's waking up." As if responding to his words, every piece of electronic equipment in the control room began to malfunction. Screens flickered, readings spiked randomly, and the communication array filled with static. Maya's custom scanner, however, continued to function perfectly, its display showing increasingly complex patterns that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. "The drilling equipment's gone haywire," reported Jenkins from the platform. "Lee, it's moving on its own, but not down. It's being pulled upward." Through the observation window, they watched in stunned silence as something rose from the depths. The ice around the drill shaft began to glow with an inner light, creating perfect geometric patterns that spiraled upward like a frozen aurora. The structure was ascending, melting through the ice with controlled precision, creating tunnels and chambers as it moved. Maya felt the call more strongly now, an irresistible pull that seemed to bypass her rational mind and speak directly to her soul. She understood, with a clarity that transcended normal comprehension, that this entity had been waiting for someone like her, someone who could hear its song. "I have to go down there," she said, moving toward the equipment locker where they kept the deep descent gear. "Absolutely not." Voss stepped into her path. "We don't know what we're dealing with. It could be dangerous." "It's not dangerous," Maya replied with absolute certainty, though she couldn't explain how she knew. "It's lonely. It's been waiting for someone who can understand its language." The structure's glow intensified, and Maya felt a warm sensation wash over her mind. Images flashed through her consciousness. Vast star fields, beings of pure energy, and Crystal, a desperate flight through the cosmos, and a crash landing on a young world covered in ice and primitive life. "You're experiencing some kind of psychic contact," Sarah observed, her scientific training warring with her amazement. "The readings from your scanner are synchronizing with your brainwaves." Maya nodded, no longer fighting the connection. "Its name is Zephyr. It's been sleeping here for 50,000 years, waiting for someone who could bridge the gap between its people and humanity." The drilling platform shook as something massive breached the surface of their shaft. A spire of living crystal emerged, pulsing with colors that had no names in human language. The structure grew upward, creating a spiraling tower that seemed to defy the laws of physics as it supported its own impossible weight. "The ice isn't melting," Marcus reported in wonder. "It's being reorganized at the molecular level. The crystal is reshaping the frozen environment to create habitable spaces." Maya approached the newly formed entrance that had appeared in the tower's base. The opening was perfectly sized for a human, shaped like a doorway, but flowing like liquid crystal. Beyond it, she could see chambers filled with soft, welcoming light. "Chun, don't!" Voss grabbed her arm. "We need to report this to headquarters. Follow protocols." She turned to face her team, and they all stepped back involuntarily. Her eyes were reflecting the same light that emanated from the crystal structure. And when she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that resonated in their bones. "The protocols were written by people who couldn't imagine this possibility," she said gently. "Zephyr doesn't have time for bureaucracy. There's something coming, something that threatens not just Earth, but all conscious life in this region of the galaxy." The structure pulsed again, and Maya felt a flood of images, dark shapes moving between stars, planets stripped of all life and consciousness, entire civilizations reduced to empty husks. The void swarm, Zephyr called them, parasites that fed on the essence of thinking beings. "How long do we have?" she asked aloud. Though the others couldn't hear Zephyr's response directly, the answer came as a feeling of desperate urgency. 1 Earth year, perhaps less. The swarm had detected the signs of technological civilization on Earth and was already adjusting its course. "I'm going in," Maya announced, stepping toward the crystal doorway. "Zephyr needs to show me something, to teach me something that might save our world." "At least take a communication device," Sarah pleaded, though they all knew their electronics were useless around the alien structure. Maya paused at the threshold, looking back at her friends and colleagues. She could feel Zephyr's consciousness, touching the edges of her mind, offering knowledge and power beyond imagination, but also warning her that the process would change her fundamentally. "If I don't come back in 6 hours, seal the shaft and evacuate the station," she instructed. "But don't try to destroy this place. Zephyr isn't our enemy. In fact, it might be humanity's only hope." The crystal doorway flowed around her as she stepped through, enveloping her in warmth and light. Behind her, she heard Voss shouting orders to his team, but the sound seemed to come from very far away. She was entering a realm where the normal rules of physics bent to accommodate consciousness itself, where thought and matter danced together in perfect harmony. The chamber beyond was vast, its walls covered in flowing patterns that told the story of Zephyr's people. Maya walked forward on a floor that felt solid, but looked like captured starlight, following a path that seemed to form beneath her feet with each step. At the center of the chamber waited a pillar of concentrated light, pulsing with the same rhythm as her heartbeat. As she approached, Maya understood that this was the moment of choice. She could turn back, return to her normal life, and leave Zephyr to its eternal solitude. Or she could accept the transformation that would make her something new, something that could bridge the gap between human chaos and ethereal harmony. Asterisk. The pillar of light called to her, promising knowledge, power, and purpose beyond anything she had ever imagined. But it also whispered of sacrifice, of becoming something that was no longer entirely human. Maya took a deep breath, thinking of her team above, of the billions of people on Earth who had no idea what was coming for them. She reached out and touched the light, feeling it flow into her consciousness like liquid music. The transformation began immediately, rewriting her genetic code and expanding her mind to accommodate new forms of perception. As the changes took hold, Maya Chun, quantum resonance engineer, began to disappear. In her place, something unprecedented was being born. The first human ethereal hybrid, a bridge between two species that would need each other to survive what was coming. Above in the control room, her scanner continued to record the resonance patterns, creating a symphony of light and sound that would help them understand what Maya was becoming. The first movement of humanity's most important concerto had begun. Asterisk. The Alliance Maya's consciousness expanded like ripples across a cosmic pond, each wave carrying memories that belonged to another species, another time. She stood within the pillar of light, no longer entirely human, yet somehow more human than she had ever been. The transformation was complete, and with it came understanding that stretched across 50 millennia of waiting. Welcome. Resonance bearer, Zephyr's voice sang through her mind, no longer causing pain, but flowing like warm honey through her thoughts. I am the last of the ethereals, keeper of our knowledge and guardian of our final hope. Maya opened her eyes, which now reflected the same crystalline light that flowed through the chamber walls. She could see the structure around her in ways that human vision had never allowed. Layers of energy and intention woven together in perfect harmony, creating spaces that existed as much in consciousness as in physical reality. You're alone, she whispered, the words carrying harmonics that made the crystal walls resonate in sympathy. Your entire species is gone. Not gone, Zephyr corrected gently. Transformed. We became one with the cosmic harmony when the void swarm consumed our homeworld. I remained behind to find another species capable of carrying our knowledge forward. For 50,000 years, I have waited for humanity to develop the genetic diversity necessary to produce someone like you. Maya felt the weight of that solitude, the endless centuries of hoping and watching as human civilization slowly evolved. Zephyr had been present for the rise and fall of countless human cultures, always observing, occasionally nudging genetic development in subtle ways, waiting for the right combination of traits to emerge. What makes me different? She asked, though part of her already knew the answer. Your species calls it a mutation, Zephyr explained, and Maya felt her understanding expand to encompass quantum mechanics on a level that human science was only beginning to explore. A genetic variation that allows consciousness to directly interact with electromagnetic fields. Among your people, it manifests as enhanced intuition, sensitivity to electronic devices, and the headaches you experienced when approaching technology you cannot fully understand. Maya nodded, remembering a lifetime of being different, of sensing things others couldn't, of technology responding to her in ways that engineers couldn't explain. She had built her reputation on an almost supernatural ability to understand quantum resonance. Never realizing she was literally born for this moment, the chamber around them shifted, walls becoming transparent to reveal the full scope of Zephyr's ship. It was massive, a living city of crystal and light that extended deep into the Earth's crust. Corridors branched like neural pathways, connecting chambers that served functions Maya was only beginning to comprehend. "Show me what's coming," she requested, and Zephyr responded by sharing memories that made her hybrid consciousness recoil in horror. The Void Swarm moved through space like a plague of darkness, their ships crafted from the crystallized screams of consumed civilizations. They were parasites in the truest sense, creatures that existed by draining the consciousness from other beings, leaving behind empty husks that shambled through dead worlds like echoes of life. Maya witnessed the fall of the ethereal homeworld, saw Zephyr's people choose transcendence rather than consumption, their consciousness merging with the cosmic harmony in a final act of defiance. She watched as world after world fell to the swarm, each defeat adding to their terrible strength. They're not just destroying civilizations, she realized with growing dread. They're collecting them. Every mind they consume makes them stronger, smarter, more capable of finding new victims. "Yes," Zephyr confirmed, "and they have detected your species. The electromagnetic signatures of your technology, the quantum fluctuations of your experiments, the very chaos of your thoughts calls to them like a beacon. They are already adjusting course toward Earth." Maya felt her human side surge with protective instinct, the fierce loyalty that had driven her species to survive ice ages, plagues, and countless wars. "How do we fight them?" Zephyr's response came as a flood of technical knowledge that would have overwhelmed a purely human mind. The ethereals had tried conventional warfare, energy weapons, and psychic defenses. All had failed because the swarm adapted, learning from each encounter and evolving countermeasures with terrifying speed. But we discovered something in our final moments. Zephyr continued, and Maya felt a spark of hope. The swarm cannot adapt to true chaos, to genuine unpredictability. They consume ordered consciousness, structured thought patterns. Your species possesses something we never developed, the ability to embrace contradiction, to find strength in disorder. Maya understood immediately. Human creativity, the seemingly illogical leaps of intuition that led to breakthrough discoveries, the stubborn refusal to accept impossible odds. These traits that had sometimes frustrated her as a scientist were exactly what made humanity uniquely qualified to face this threat. "You need to teach me everything," she said, feeling the weight of her species' survival settling on her shoulders. "Every technology, every technique, every piece of knowledge your people possessed. And I need to find others like me, humans, who can interface with your systems." Asterisk, the ship responded to her determination, chambers lighting up throughout its structure as dormant systems came online. Maya felt Zephyr's consciousness merge more fully with hers, sharing not just information, but actual understanding, the kind of deep knowledge that usually took decades to acquire. Her awareness expanded to encompass the ship's sensors, and she gasped as she perceived the world through ethereal perception. She could see her team above, their electromagnetic signatures bright with worry and confusion. She could feel the resonance patterns of every human on Earth, most dormant, but some beginning to awaken as the cosmic conditions shifted. "There are others," Zephyr confirmed her suspicions. "Perhaps 200 individuals worldwide possess the genetic variations necessary for full interface. Thousands more have lesser capabilities that could be enhanced through proper training." Maya began to formulate a plan, her human strategic thinking combining with ethereal knowledge to create possibilities that neither species could have achieved alone. But first, she needed to convince her team that she wasn't lost to them. "I need to go back up," she told Zephyr. "They'll be planning a rescue mission or worse. They might try to destroy this place to contain what they don't understand. You are changed, Zephyr warned. They may not recognize you as the person they knew. Maya nodded, feeling the truth of those words. The transformation had altered her on every level, from her cellular structure to the way her consciousness processed reality. But at her core, she was still the woman who had dedicated her life to understanding the impossible. The crystal doorway flowed open as she approached, and Maya stepped back into the drilling chamber. Her team was huddled around a makeshift communication array, desperately trying to reach the surface station. They all turned as she emerged, as she saw the shock in their eyes. "Maya?" Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. "Is that really you?" Maya's reflection in the observation window showed the extent of her transformation. Her skin had taken on a subtle luminescence. Her eyes now held depths that seemed to contain starlight, and when she moved, patterns of light flowed beneath her skin like living circuitry. "It's me," she assured them, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated with the ship's systems. "I'm still Maya Chun, but I'm also something more now. Something that might be able to save all of us." Voss raised a weapon she hadn't noticed him carrying, a military-grade pulse rifle that must have been part of their emergency supplies. "Step away from that structure, Chun. We don't know what it's done to you." "I know what it's done to me," Maya replied calmly, though she felt Zephyr's systems responding to the perceived threat. With an effort of will, she kept the ship's defenses from activating. "It's made me capable of understanding what's coming for Earth. Dr. Voss, we have less than a year before humanity faces extinction." She let them see the truth, sharing Zephyr's memories of the Void Swarm through the quantum resonance field that now surrounded her. The images were filtered through her human understanding, making them comprehensible without overwhelming their unprepared minds. Marcus dropped his instruments, his face pale with horror. "Those things ... they're coming here?" "They've already detected us," Maya confirmed, "but we have advantages they don't expect. The same chaos and unpredictability that makes humans difficult to work with makes us nearly impossible for them to consume." To demonstrate, she approached Jenkins, the drilling engineer who had been complaining of chronic back pain for months. With Zephyr's knowledge flowing through her, Maya placed her hand on his shoulder and sent healing resonance through his damaged spine. Jenkins straightened with a gasp of amazement, his pain vanishing as cellular regeneration accelerated far beyond natural limits. "How did you do that?" "Ethereal biotechnology," Maya explained, seeing the wonder and fear in her team's eyes. "This is just the beginning. Zephyr can teach us to enhance human capabilities, to build technologies that work in harmony with consciousness itself." Sarah lowered her tablet, where she had been recording the extraordinary readings from Maya's transformation. "You're talking about changing our entire species." "I'm talking about giving our species the tools it needs to survive," Maya corrected. "The choice will still be individual. Some humans will embrace the enhancement. Others will remain purely human. Both types will be necessary for what's coming." Voss slowly lowered his weapon, his military training, warring with scientific curiosity. "What exactly are you proposing?" Maya felt Zephyr's consciousness merge more fully with hers, sharing not just knowledge, but purpose. "I'm proposing a partnership between humanity and the last ethereal. We teach each other, learn from each other, and build something that neither species could create alone." She gestured toward the crystal spire that now dominated their drilling chamber. "This ship contains the accumulated knowledge of a civilization that mastered consciousness itself. Technologies that can enhance human capabilities without destroying human nature. Weapons that harness chaos as a force for creation rather than destruction." The ship responded to her words, opening viewing ports that showed them the true scope of what lay beneath the ice. Miles of corridors filled with wonders beyond imagination. Laboratories where thought became reality. Training chambers where consciousness could be shaped and strengthened. The first step is finding others like me, Maya continued. People with the genetic variations necessary to interface directly with ethereal technology. We'll need to move quickly and quietly. The swarm has agents on Earth, beings they've partially consumed who still appear human but serve their purposes. This revelation sent a chill through the team. The enemy was already here, watching, waiting. How do we know you're not one of them? Voss asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Maya smiled, and for a moment she looked exactly like the colleague they had known for months. Because if I were, you'd already be dead. The swarm doesn't negotiate, doesn't form partnerships, doesn't offer choices. They consume everything they touch. She extended her hand toward Voss, and he saw the truth in her transformed eyes. I'm still human enough to value human life above all else. But I'm also ethereal enough to understand what we're capable of becoming. One by one, her team made their choice. Sarah stepped forward first, her scientific curiosity overcoming her. Fear. Marcus followed, drawn by the promise of knowledge beyond anything he had imagined. Jenkins, still marveling at his healed spine, nodded his agreement. Finally, Voss holstered his weapon and took Maya's outstretched hand. What do you need from us? Maya felt Zephyr's approval flow through the ship's systems like a warm current. The alliance was forming, the first partnership between human chaos and ethereal harmony. It wouldn't be easy, and not all of humanity would accept what was necessary, but it was a beginning. Help me find the others, she said, her voice carrying the weight of destiny. Help me build an army of hybrid consciousness that can face the darkness between stars and emerge victorious. As her team began planning their next moves, Maya felt something she hadn't experienced since her transformation began. Hope, humanity, had always been at its best when facing impossible odds, and the coming war would test every strength their species possessed. But for the first time in 50,000 years, Zephyr was no longer alone. And for the first time in human history, they had a real chance to transcend their limitations and become something greater than the sum of their parts. The Void Swarm was coming, but they would find Earth defended by something they had never encountered before. Human ingenuity enhanced by cosmic wisdom, chaos given purpose by harmony, and the unbreakable will to protect what mattered most. The real battle was about to begin. Asterisk.